Welcome to Design Your Future. And today we're going to go over the Trifecta Effect, how to be healthy, wealthy, and wise. I'm Steve MacLellan, the financial engineer, and you're very lucky. You're in for a treat today here as I have Eileen Pease of Dynamic Learning. She's an expert on how the brain works and how it can work for you. And then there's Deborah Hann, Deborah Petal Hann. I hope that. Anyways, Deborah from Journey to Wellness is going to join us here to be the better version of yourself on how to win the morning so you can conquer the day. Now, let's talk about the elephant in the room because it can be a big elephant in a very small room. We don't talk about it. And I believe that elephant is often money. It can be health, and it's often success. How do we become that better version of ourselves? We don't talk about it. And often we might even criticize those who have found a way to be healthier, to be more successful. But the goal of this presentation and what I am here to help you do is to have fun with that elephant, to ride that elephant, to be more comfortable with being successful. And we got a jam-packed agenda here today. I'm briefly going to go over the current situation, where Canadians are at today. And then with the wise portion, we got the Eileen Pease, the one and only. She's going to show us how to learn faster and retain more. Then we're going to move over to the healthy portion where Deborah's going to show us how to win the morning so we can conquer the day. And then I'm going to finish off with how to increase your relationship with money. And I would even say success, that money mindset. Then I'm going to try to wrap it all together, and we'll save whatever questions you have at the end, but feel free to type away, or, if you're watching this on a video, type the questions and we will do our best to get back to you. Listen, if nothing else, over these next 45 minutes, probably even shorter, we're going to try to jam everything in as much as we can. We're going to help you become a better version of you, to be more productive, to have less stress. And this often, if almost always, leads to better health, and I would say more wealth. And there's going to be lots of information coming your way. Sometimes it's going to feel like drinking from a water hose, but you have to be here. You have to be present. I think the best way to learn is to teach, and you got to play full out here. And another promise that we have to you is the information that we're going to share with you. It's going to be useful. I look at this picture. It probably reminds you what your first day of work was after finishing university or whatnot. What we're going to give, what we're going to pass on, the knowledge, the experience, you're going to be able to use immediately. But you need to pay attention because it could be just that one idea that gives that shift. And if you're not playing full out, if you're not here, you may miss it. So let's begin the journey. Let's go from achiever to super achiever, from good to great, from leader to that superhero, or me being a big Star Wars fan, from Jedi to Master Jedi. Looking at today's current situation, a recent Angus Reid poll asked Canadians generally how they're feeling right now from their day-to-day lives. And you can see from this slide, 44%, almost right across the board, they're either concerned about their social health, mental health, and physical health, where financial health seems to be a little bit above at 52%. That's what's on top of their mind. This is what the majority of us are thinking from day to day. And a lot of this stems from the fact that feel like we're the most not lazy. This is a picture of a bed, but more lonely than ever. Forbes magazine published a report that said 50% of employees felt lonely at work. And this was before COVID. So just imagine, I'm sure this increased. So not only are we feeling lonely at work, we're feeling lonely at home. I love this photo. It just shows how strange our world has become. And do you feel we become better savers, or are we getting worse at it? Well, looking at StatsCan, for every dollar earned in 1980, 80 cents of it was going towards debt. Fast forward to 2021, $1.71 is going towards debt. That means we are spending more than we're actually making. And this actually went down a little bit during COVID. It was $1.73 last year. It's actually gone down. But now that the lockdowns are coming to an end And down with those lockdowns. Let's open up business. Do you think we're going to be more of a saving economy, or is it going to be the roaring 20s all over again? The debt level is increasing, and Canadians are saying 38% are seeing their debt load increase year after year. This stat is quite scary. And I think COVID showed it. If there wasn't the CERB and all the other government handouts and helping out, 34% of Canadians could not come up with $2,000 in a month's time if there was an emergency. And a lot of business owners, we feel we're going to work hard and sell our business and get really rich at the end. This stat shook me. Percentage of people that are age 55 to 64 who don't have a work pension and save less than $3,000 is 50%. Now, who's underwater? It's not necessarily who you think. It's the hard workers. It's the educated. It's the professionals. It's those that are making good income, 100 grand and above. Why do I share this with you? Well, it's not to scare you. And it's to show you, if you follow these stats, you are not alone. The majority of Canadians, in fact, almost 90%, will not be able to retire on their own terms. This is affecting our relationships. We're having little time to do fun things. There's chronic tiredness going on in the workforce today. Illness is increasing obesity, and it's affecting our mental health. As I mentioned, 90% of Canadians are not going to be able to retire how they want on their own terms. Just go to Tim Hortons and look who's working behind the counter. It's not young kids anymore. It's people of all ages and all groups. We have to stop doing what the 90% are doing. So as an engineer, I like to ask the question how a lot, but a very powerful question is why. Why is this happening? Well, I'm going to ask you, where did you get your education from, right? Who are your role models? Who are theirs? Unfortunately, we're not taught a lot about finances, health, or even how to learn in schools. We're taught about what to learn, but not how to learn it. And we are entering a work generation where there's five different age generations in the workforce. The old model of doing what I say, the old dictator leadership is gone. But a lot of people believe it's because of our education, which I think you'd agree with me is broken. And the fact that 90% of Canadians aren't going to be able to retire how they want. The financial system is broken. There's something going wrong. And the fact that we all want to become better versions of ourselves, but we're not doing that. It's no longer education. All right. We all know we should be investing. We all know we should be working out, being healthy. We all know that we can better ourselves, but we're not doing it. And if we don't know how to do it, we can just Google it. So do you know what the difference between achievers and non-achievers is? Maybe 20 years ago, it used to be knowledge. But today, it's taking that knowledge, that's only potential power, and putting it into action. Doing what you know and doing it well. Doubling down on your strengths and working professionals to help you on your journey. All right. So if we all know this, why aren't we doing it? What's the gap? Well, it really comes down to three things. It's your brain and the way your brain works. It's our upbringing, and it's our life experiences. Now, this could be a whole webinar, a whole week's class on spending on these three things, but let's just focus on the brain very quickly. There's been more research done on the brain in the last 40 years than there has been in the last 20,000. There's lots of great books out there. I highly recommend all these. But when it's all said and done, to summarize it, your brain can be broken down into three parts. All right. There's the elephant part, or kind of known as the reptilian brain or the robot brain. And this part just wants you to survive. All right. It wants you to be safe. It doesn't want you to do anything. It actually wants you to sit down on that couch and eat those big potato chips because it's safe. Right. And then you have another portion of the brain I like to call the monkey brain. That's where all the excitement comes from, our emotions, the love and lust, the shiny object, squirrel, all those fun things. And then what makes us human, the ability for us to want to do better, is the sage, I like to call it the Yoda brain, right? So how can we take the Yoda brain that is being overpowered by the other parts of the brains? What can we do to help that? Well, one of the ways is to form habits. Habits will become your philosophy of your success. And here to help us forming better habits, great habits that will make you a better version of you, I'm very excited to introduce Eileen Pease. Eileen, you are an expert on how the brain works and show people how the brain can work for you. Mm-hmm. You work with managers and CEOs and leaders and business owners all over the world to increase their productivity and to get their teams and their staff to be awesome, more productive and get better results. So come on and give me a big round of applause and welcome Eileen Pease. Eileen, is there anything I missed in the introduction to you?
Well, I wouldn't call it an elephant brain. I would call it an ancient brain. But actually, I use an elephant to talk about your subconscious or your long-term memory. And the Mahout, the rider, is your conscious, your executive brain, which has some control. Well, actually has quite a lot of control. But your ancient brain also is very interested in keeping you alive and keeping you safe and conserving energy.
Yes, keeping you away from that saber-toothed tiger. And
right. Or the predator you create in your own brain, which is what what most of us do today.
Yeah, and I'm a fan of elephants, and you know, talking about the elephant in the room, and that's kind of bring that idea. And yes, there is ways for us to take that rider and control that elephant, or as you mentioned, ancient brain, to get it to go where we're going.
So sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Well, if we're going to talk about how to make learning stick, how to learn fast and remember longer, there's a sort of mnemonic to help you remember. It's AGES, AGES. And A stands for attention. If you're not paying attention and sustaining that attention on what you want to learn, then you're not going to learn. It just won't get to your hippocampus, which is the part of your brain that kind of distributes your learning to other parts of the brain. So you have to limit the distractions when you're sitting down to learn. Even if as you're watching this video, don't let yourself be distracted by your phone or the email or maybe the dog barking in the background. I want to learn this, so I'm going to stay focused. As you're hearing the information or seeing the information, if you're reading it, you're having to think generation. That is, how can I use this? What does this mean to me? How do I make sense of it? And could I teach it to somebody else? Because actually that's the best way to learn, is to teach to somebody else. And I'm sure some of the people listening today will have children, and you want children to do well in school. And so that attention, generation, and then emotion, we certainly, as you said with the monkey, we have a lot of emotion in the brain, and it works really fast. But we can be easily bored, and we can be easily frustrated and so on. So we need to pay attention to that. So am I getting bored? Can I ask the good question? What can I use in this that, am I sometimes worrying I won't be able to use this because I just can't do those things? There's no way I can go out and jog for 30 minutes every other day.
Yeah,
but if you could just go for a 5-minute walk, that would be a start.
Well, it seems like right now it's never been so easy to be successful, but it's never been so easy to be distracted.
Absolutely. Distraction is really a problem. And I haven't quite finished with the ages, The last one is space, S for spacing. And that is, as we're learning something, we need to repeat it. I'm teaching a course right now on how to write persuasively. And it's a three mornings. I've just done the second morning. When I started this morning, the first thing I did was to have them try and remember what we'd done the day before, and reassured them that they wouldn't remember everything. I would expect that, but by making them or asking them to remember, they were improving the chances of remembering. So the key thing about learning something is spacing. That is, so reviewing it after 10 minutes, reviewing it after a night's sleep, reviewing it after a week, reviewing it after a month, reviewing it after 3 months. By that time, you can be sure it's in your long-term memory. Now, sometimes you can get information into your long-term memory a lot faster than that. But if you're working to really increase your understanding and knowledge and skill, you do have to keep working at it. Now, the other thing that people are concerned about when they're learning is reading. And one of the things I say to people about reading, have you ever had the situation where you're reading something, you're about halfway down the page and you suddenly think, what is this about? And that you've realized, you know, I haven't been paying attention. That's because you're reading too slowly. And it's because you haven't prepared your mind to read. Now, at school, we were encouraged to read slowly. A lot of elementary school teachers like you to read slowly and carefully. What they may not have realized is if you encourage children to read slowly and carefully, they won't want to read at all, because it'll take them so long to get to the bottom of the page, they will have forgotten what the beginning was about. So when you're getting ready to read something to learn from it, which most of us are going to, when we do read something, we're presumably trying to learn something, we must ask ourselves first, why am I reading this now? So is this the best source I can get now? Now means, what am I going to do with it in the next 24 to 48 hours? Because if you do nothing with what you've read, and hopefully you've read with attention, if you make no notes and you do nothing with it, you're going to lose 80% of it in the next 24 to 48 hours. So even if you sit there and study and SWOT and read, if you're not actually applying it or making some really effective notes, which is using something called a mind map, you're going to forget most of it really quickly, which is normal. But in terms of, you know, am I going to, if the time I spend learning, how can I retain it? So let's go back to the reading. You start by clarifying for yourself what your purpose is. So suppose you're reading it because tomorrow or the next day you're going to have to write a paper on a topic close to this, or you're going to have to take part in a class that's doing something with this, or you're going to work with your boss on something. Whatever the reason to gather this information today, you need to be clear in your mind, what outcome are you looking for? Then you need to page through the material to make sure that, and we can get a lot of information by just scanning, just going over the material quickly, asking yourself, does it have the information I'm looking for? And usually, well, let's talk about a book. Usually a book doesn't, I mean, when you write a book, you can't publish a book which only 10 pages. You know, it needs to be 100 pages or more. So most books have filler. Most books, actually, what I always do with a book is I go to the last chapter to see if that's the key chapter, which it sometimes is, or I look at the end of chapters because sometimes the writer gives you a summary of the chapter in the last page or two. And that's a pretty quick way of getting yourself ready to learn it. So I overview to get my brain ready to read this. And then actually I start something called a mind map, which is I have a blank piece of paper. I put a oval in the middle of the page and I put the topic, and then I think, from whatever I've picked up so far in the looking over, here's the key information that I think is there and that I'm looking for. And let's suppose with my overview, I figure out, yes, it is worth reading this. So now I'm going to read as quickly as I can. I'm going to push myself, because that will keep me engaged, that will keep me interested, and that will force my brain to stay concentrated. And there won't be any mind wandering because we don't have time. We're pushing ourselves. And it also means that I'm not getting every detail. I'm getting the overall understanding. And depending on how long the document is, from time to time, I'll stop and add some information to my mind map, just to capture with a word or two, this is the information I want to remember. Then when I get at the end of reading through it quickly, I will look back at, okay, that was interesting. What was that on about so-and-so? And I will continue to add to my mind map. Then I will go through the document again and say, okay, where's the really good stuff? And what do I mean by the good stuff is the information that's going to meet my purpose. Remember, we set the purpose at the beginning of the reading. So how much have I met already? How much do I now realize I already know? Or there's some information that's not relevant to what I need right now. And now I'm going to go back and I'm going to read. I usually use my favorite little
timer.
3M calls them,
okay.
calls them, what does 3M call them? Tabs or something. Anyway, I use those. I call them markers, and I put them in the document where I want to go back and or sometimes I mark out the parts of the document I'm not going to go back to. So then I go back and read for the detail I need to meet my purpose, and again add to my mind map, so that when I finished, I've got a one-page set of notes that covers the whole document and is going to remind me. Because the thing about our memories is we don't have a filing cabinet in here. We don't have a videotape. We have 100 billion neurons. So those are long, skinny cells that don't quite touch. Hard to believe they're all packed in here, but they communicated with each other through neurotransmitters, if you like. Anyway, let's not get too complicated. But if I want to remember something, I need a reminder. I need to kind of kickstart. But if I can do that with my mind map, that I look at my mind map, think, oh yes, there was this, and there was this, and there was this. Like I have mind maps of books I've read 10, 20 years ago. I can talk about them for 20 minutes looking at the mind map.
And it sounds like we could, that's almost I'm sure you teach this to others. And just to recap, because I know we're trying to jam everything on here to help read faster. One of the first things you can do, you ask your question, or you ask yourself, why am I reading this? What's my outcome?
And most importantly, why am I reading it now?
Why am I reading it now?
Mm-hmm.
You start with the end in mind. So you kind of read the summaries. If there's summaries, read those first, and then read as fast as you can.
Mm-hmm.
And then when you're finished doing that, you kind of ask those questions again. What did I learn, and why am I learning this? You ask questions and hopefully add a little motion to that. That's going to help you learn more. Talking about reading fast, any tips that you can give on actually how can you read faster?
Well, I see you're doing this. So but that takes some practice. It's like saying to somebody, okay, read this book about how to ride a bicycle. You're probably not going to learn to ride a bicycle by reading a book, and you're probably not going to learn how to use your finger as a pacing device just by me telling you about it. That's what speed readers do, if you like. That's what if I hold up a document like this and I'm going to read it, I'm going to slide my finger under the line and lift just enough to, anyway, that's one thing, but that takes some instruction and some practice. And the good thing about that is it helps to keep your eyes and your brain on the document, because your eyes are quite jumpy. And you'll notice, I don't know where they came from here. Well, little children will instinctively point at the print when they're learning. And for some reason, elementary school teachers stopped them. They let them do it for about a year or so, and then they stop them. And if you ask an elementary school teacher why, they don't have a good pedagogical reason. They really only can say, that's the way we've always done it. Or sometimes they say, older children don't point. Well, I say, well, you didn't let the older child point, that's why they don't point. But Evelyn Wood found, the guru of speed reading, that what she called natural speed readers, there's people who read at over 1,000 words a minute, whereas most of us read between 200 and 300 words a minute, use their finger as a pacing device because it guides the eyes. If you look around the room right now, it looks to your brain like a smooth transition, but what's actually happening is your eyes are momentarily still. At one point, it's called the fixation point, or the fixation pause, and then your eyes jump to another point. That's called the saccade. And while the eyes are in saccade, they don't see.
Right.
So, but what they found, they study average readers reading, and that they do that by putting a camera behind the print and focusing on the fovea of the eyes, which is the part where we see the print. The average reader reverses or regresses 15 to 20 times every 100 words.
Yeah, they read the same thing over and over again.
Yeah, and think about what the brain has to do to sort that out.
Yeah. I find this very interesting. You know what? I made a mistake. I was thinking that we could fit this into 15 minutes. This is a topic that we should spend a whole, would you mind coming back with me and we'll do a podcast and we'll talk about this? Because to me, you know, I ask my kids, and I love this question, if you had a superpower, you know, you met a leprechaun and you granted you one wish, what would that, I gave you away what my wish would be. But if you met a leprechaun and you grant you one wish, but it had to be humanly possible, it wasn't like you could become Superman or, you know, just wish for money. A very powerful wish would be able to learn faster. Just imagine how successful you could be. And you obviously, you can help people with that. You've got a great history, and, you know, you've helped a lot of people get to that better version of themselves. What is the best way for people to reach out to you to you know, I guess the best way for them to contact you?
I think my name is here if you hover over the bottom left-hand corner of the screen. Eileen, E-I-L-E-E-N, Pease, like please, with the L left out. And my website is eileenpease.com. So if you go to my website, you'll see all the information you need and how to contact me. Or if you want to just send me an email, it's epease@eileenpease.com.
Okay, I'll make sure I put that in there when we hand this out and when it goes into different social media categories. Well, thank you very much. I learned a ton, and I know it was just the tip of the iceberg, right? So thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, so moving on. That was the whys. Now we're going to move on to being healthy, the body. And here's a lady that I've met several years ago. And Deborah, she just seems to get, every time I run into her, she seems to be getting younger. It's like she's reversing the age. Instead of getting older, she looks more fit. She looks healthier. There's always a spring to her step. The energy is contagious. She's been in the fitness industry for over 14 years, a very busy mom, and runs online and private classes for her clients. And typically her clients seem to be, you know, those busy mothers that are having the weight of the world on their shoulders, being the best mom they can while being successful. Welcome, Debbie. Is there anything I missed there, Deborah, on how I should have introduced you even better?
No, I don't think you missed anything. I appreciate the compliments. Sometimes my body after some of the workouts would have to argue with you about the getting younger aspect. Definitely as I approach the later 40s, it's it takes longer and longer to recover from those workouts. But yeah, no, I appreciate the introduction, and I'm excited to talk about this. This is something I'm very passionate about. Actually, it's something that has been a lifelong learning process for me, learning what I need to do in order to be most successful with both my physical, my health, and also my business. And it has been mornings. Absolutely winning the morning.
Yeah, it took me a long time to learn this. And, you know, your fitness routine, I have to say, by the way, when we worked together in December, that was almost the best shape I've been in, and totally use Debbie, as the fitness is phenomenal and helps a lot with the mindset too. And in turn helps with your career. But I remember at my Sanovex days and university days, I wouldn't take 8:15 classes because they're too early in the morning, right? I was a night hawk. But I realized shortly, you know, you really only control two parts of your day, the nighttime and the morning. And, you know, a lot in the nighttime, that's where a lot of bad habits are formed. Why is it so important to start your day off right?
I think the most important thing to remember is when you start your day off in a certain manner, that sets the tone for your entire day. So if you start your morning with kind of moving slow, scrolling, wasting some time on social media, not really having yourself organized, you can be pretty sure the rest of your day is going to go that way. You ask some of the most, or do some research on some of the most successful people in the world, and if you read what do you attribute to your success, a very, very large portion will say a solid morning routine. Almost every single one of them will say they get up in the morning, they get up earlier than what they normally, what would be considered the normal time to wake up. They get up earlier, they get themselves organized, they get their workout done, and they get all those things out of the way so that when they get to work or when they log on or whatever, they are ready to go, that they don't have all these other things distracting them.
I've read that same thing. And do you mind sharing what your morning routine is?
I don't mind at all. And in fact, the biggest thing with a solid morning routine actually starts the night before. And this is really, like you said, you can control your evening and your morning, and there's a whole lot of stuff that happens in between. But a really good morning routine starts with a great evening routine. Because if you lay out, whether it's your workout clothes or your work clothes, whatever that is, for me, it's both. I'm kind of fortunate that way that my workout clothes is my work clothes. But whatever that is, if you plan to exercise in the morning, make sure those clothes are ready. Make sure all of that is organized. Because if the first thing you have to do is get up and spend 15 minutes trying to figure out what to wear and where's my sneakers and where's this and what's that, it's going to get very frustrating. The easier you make it for yourself, the more likely you are to do what needs to be done. So if you roll out of bed and you put on your workout clothes right away, because they are right there ready to go. And this is a bit of an odd thing that I learned a number of years ago, and it really works. And I don't know why, but I just know it does. Put on a pair of sneakers or runners or a pair of footwear that's not slippers, but an actual pair of shoes where you have to tie them up. For some reason, you just move more, you move better, you move quicker, you know, you're not shuffling around quite as much. And that's just for anything, whether you're, you know, if you're just getting ready in the morning, if you're cleaning house, if you're doing work, when you have footwear on, for some reason, you just do more. So that's my routine. First thing I do, my clothes are laid out the night before. I know what most of my meals are going to be that next day. I have that all organized before I go to bed. I may not have it all prepped and prepared, but I know what's happening. I know what's for dinner the next day. I know what I need. I know what my kids need. All of that is ready to go. I put on my workout gear, I put on my sneakers, tie them up, and I'm ready to go.
So make it as easy as possible to start.
Make it as easy as possible. The easier you make it for yourself, the easier it's just going to be, the more likely you are to do it. If you put up all these obstacles, you know, oh my goodness, all your clothes are still in the dryer. Oops, no, they're actually not. They're still in the washer because you forgot to put them into the dryer the night before. Those sorts of things. You're just going to go, forget it. It's not worth it.
Right.
So
and there is, you know, that your brain is going to push back a lot of times, just staying in bed And
Exactly.
right.
Exactly. And you said something earlier, and this is what a lot of this comes down to as well. You were talking about the habits creating habits. And there's that saying, motivation is what gets you started, habit is what keeps you going. I don't believe in that. I don't believe, I think habit will keep you going eventually, but there's a big period of time between when you're motivated and when it becomes a habit, a very big period of time. Some people say 21 days.
Yeah.
You know, people I've worked with, it could be months. What happens in between is discipline. You're motivated, you know, if somebody signs up for my program or they sign up for a class or they go, okay, I just watched this great webinar by Eileen and Deborah and Steve, and I'm going to get my morning and I want to read books and I'm going to do this. And you're really, really motivated. And then all these things might happen. You might do that for a few days, and then something happens and you end up staying up really late one night. And then something else happens and you don't get your workout in, or something else happens and you don't read, you know, that chapter you wanted to read on that particular day. And then all of a sudden that motivation is gone. You're not motivated to do it anymore. Your reason why is gone, but it hasn't yet become a habit. It takes discipline. It's doing something, even if you don't necessarily want to, it's doing it anyways.
And
And
doing the important things first, other
get those
health.
important things
Yeah.
done first. Absolutely. And when you do that, you're going to be much more likely to get everything done that you need.
You know, sometimes we have spouses or young kids or you know, there's lots of things that might handcuff us from starting a powerful morning routine. Where is the best place for someone to start when creating a morning routine?
First thing is the night before, figuring out what your top 3 of the morning is. What are the top 3 things you want to get done? Not a huge to-do list of all the things ideally in this ideal world that you would like to get done, but what are your top 3? What are my top 3 things that I want to do tomorrow? I need to shoot a video. I need to get my workout in, and I need to, for me, it's one of the things that I procrastinate on is reviewing journals. I need to get those 3 things done tomorrow morning, because after lunch, my brain doesn't work quite as well. I know when my most productive time is in the morning, and I need to get that done. So there's my top 3. And that changes. Some days it's very similar. My workout usually is the one that I want to get done. But you know, once you know what your top 3 is, you have your priorities. And then I have a little bit of a routine, my do's and don'ts. The biggest one is not having my phone by my bed. It is still my alarm, so I still have it on, but it's across the room. So that when that alarm goes off, I physically have to get my butt out of bed, across the room to turn off the alarm. Because it's really easy just to reach over to the nightstand and hit snooze and go back to sleep, or reach for the phone, pick it up and start scrolling. And how many times have you thought you were only going to be scrolling social media for 2 or 3 minutes, and the next thing you know, it's 20?
Yes.
Right. And that's gone right into either your workout time or, you know, your top 3 priority time, or even just shower time. You know, it's cut into your time. So that's the biggest thing. I don't have my phone by my bed. The only thing by my bed is my water and my list, my top 3 list. It's right there. So I can start drinking my water right away, and I can have a quick reminder of my list and go, okay, I've already got my butt out of bed because I had to go turn off the alarm, and now I'm ready to go. So I don't even look at my phone until I've got myself cleaned up, dressed, and ready to start my day. Then I will pick up my phone. I turn off all the notifications for Facebook, social media, all that sort of stuff. There's no notifications. So I physically have to go into those apps if I want to actually see what's in there. So it's not buzzing at me or beeping at me.
Yeah, hear that, folks? Like it might feel like really hard to do, to turn off all those notifications, and you want to feel really important. But you heard it from Eileen and you heard it from Deborah. They are so distracting, and they're keeping you from doing what you're meant to do, what you're on this planet to do, from becoming that better version of yourself. It can be so destructive, right?
We have all of these things that are meant to make us more productive, but they really become these huge distractions.
Yes.
When you're not, you know, if you're just putting out fires all the time because bing, somebody messaged you this, or ding, somebody messaged you this. Oh, look at this, look at this Facebook video, or look at the news story. That's the big thing these days that's very distracting, is every single news story that comes out, somebody has to share something, right? And then you read that, and then you're down that rabbit hole. It's meant to make us more productive, but it's really, really distracting.
Yeah,
And
every
then,
time
and
I
then
watch
you get
the
your
news,
emotions up too.
yeah, I get infuriated, and I notice that it stops me being productive as well. So I don't watch the news very often.
Exactly.
If you were to give one takeaway for someone to really try to start a morning routine on the right foot to get started, what would be the one takeaway you would give them?
Make your routine the same every day so you know what to expect.
Right.
So the same nighttime routine, I'm going to lay out my clothes. I'm going to get my meals organized. I'm going to go to bed at a decent hour, because that's a big thing. If you want to get up early, you can't stay up watching Netflix all night long, right?
Yeah, so a lot of it starts
or
the
Eileen,
night.
Sorry, Eileen, it's not reading all the time. Some people get caught reading, right? And then all of a sudden I have to read the next chapter. But it's picking a routine and sticking with the same routine, going to bed at the same time. If you have to go to bed earlier in order to get up earlier, that's what you have to do. And then getting up at the same time. Don't hit snooze. Get up, cross your room, turn it off, get that clothes on, get the sneakers on, and get moving with your top 3 right away.
Right. And you don't have to beat yourself up if you can't do it every single day, but just every day is a new day. And the best way to win the day, I guess, I thought in the morning, but it's actually the night before, right?
It is the night before.
Yeah.
That's where it starts.
Anything exciting coming down the road for you, and how can people get in touch?
There's always something exciting coming down the road, because my biggest thing I do is I go, okay, what do my clients need right now? And then I create new things. So who knows what's coming down the road? Right now, my online programs are wrapping up. I am going to take the summer off from my online programs, but I still do private training in my studio and virtually now. COVID has opened up this whole new realm of business for me, where I train people one-on-one virtually. It just like this does Zoom. They're on one end exercising, I'm on the other end yelling at them. It's great. I do virtual fitness classes and outdoor classes here in Fall River, Nova Scotia. And again, the outdoor classes are still live streamed. So wherever you are, I have clients and class participants all across Canada now. So people tune in and exercise with me from all across Canada. And then, in September, I'll have my online programs running up again. There's a 4-week one and an 8-week one. And who knows, by then I might come up with something else.
It just shows, you have that strong morning routine. It shows you're getting a lot done there. Well, listen, I know both of you guys have to run. I want to thank you very much. I've realized the healthy, wealthy, and wise, maybe I have to break it down into 2 parts, because what I found very, very interesting and very useful. And I would love to spend more time with each of you guys. Is that okay? Is that something we can do down the road?
I would absolutely love that anytime.
All right. Well, I'm going to conclude. Feel free. I know both of you guys have to run, but thank you so much. A fountain of knowledge. And here's to the best. Down with the lockdowns, and here's to our success. Let us be healthy, wealthy, and wise.
Yeah.
All right.
Thanks so much, Steve. Appreciate it.
Take care. All right. So I will conclude this with, we talked about, how to become wiser with Eileen, and how to become healthier with Deborah. I'm going to talk about the last of the trifectas on how to become more healthy. Now, allow myself to reintroduce myself. I'm Steve MacLellan. I'm the financial engineer, and my mission is really to help those that are helping others become more successful. And the reason for this is so our communities can become even better and stronger. A place where we can raise our kids, where they can grow and add to the prosperity, instead of having to move away like so many of us did, right? And still continue to do. Now, everyone, they want to get to a certain point in life. They want to get to that P. A is where we're at right now, and we want to get to B. But the majority of us have no idea what B is, or even how to get there. All right. And when you're talking to the majority of the financial advisors and banks, they'll set you up with a mutual fund maybe, or an insurance product. but they don't really tell you how to get to be. I look at this as golf. All right. Say if you wanted to become a really good golfer, you wanted to excel at golf, what would you rather have? Would you rather have the clubs of your favorite golfer or their swing? Well, if you know anything about golf, which is one of the hardest sports out there, it really comes down to the swing. All right. And that's what I do. I help people with the swing, how to get there. And I believe, why don't you choose both? Why don't you have the club and the swing? All right. So, and a lot of this comes down to planning. Now, it's not necessarily the plan that's going to get you there. It's the planning. It's the process. It's setting up those strategies to make sure that you're going to get to where you want to go. And these plans really have to be aligned with the way your brain works. All right. Are these plans making life easier, or are they making life more difficult? Are they including more than just investing? Are they looking at the way you spend money and your relationship that you have with money? Taxes, believe it or not, do you know that that's going to be your biggest expense in life? So there is a way to reduce your taxes. There's a way to divide and conquer your debt. Do you have a strategy for that? And of course, there's the future funding and protecting what you have and passing it on to the ones that you care about. All right. So a truly holistic plan really starts with your vision, what you want. And you have to get very clear on what you want, who you are today, and who you want to become tomorrow. And it all starts with mindset. So I'm going to ask you just a couple of questions and answer these honestly. And this will show you where your mindset is. So finish this sentence for me. Money is the root of all. Well, I'm hoping that you said good. All right. Because money is, to me, it's an amplifier of who you are. If you're a good person, it helps you become a great person. It helps you go out there and be more of a contributing member to society and to help our communities and to help others. And we've heard some foolish sayings out there, like money doesn't grow on trees. Well, I know people don't use paper money much anymore, but the fact is money can be created and it can be destroyed. Just look at Facebook. That didn't even exist 15 years ago, and now it's $1 billion industry. Money is also, it's similar to a spouse, all right? A partner, a boyfriend or a girlfriend. If you treat your partner poorly, if you show them lack of respect, if you're mean to them, if you abuse them, they're eventually going to leave you, just like money will. But if you treat your spouse with respect, you take care of it, money will take care of you as well. But we're often in this trap, and this is what 90% of people are doing, no matter their income level. This is often referred to as Parkinson's law, where the more money you make, the more money you spend. So you can see this, and I think you'd agree with me 100%. You get that first paycheck. I remember my first paycheck with my career when I first started. I thought I was rich. This is amazing, right? But then you start spending. And then you realize, oh man, I need to work harder. So what do? You put in longer hours. You work harder. You start feeling tired. You're stressed. You become lazy. All right. You become stressed. You become anxious. It's this vicious cycle. So we really have to set up systems and strategies that are going to protect ourselves from ourselves. And it has to be easy and automatic. I'm going to go very quickly and review 3 strategies that you can use right away so you can take control of your money and of your life. All right. So strategy number 1 is cash flow. Now, we all hear about budgets. Budgets are like diets. All right. They don't really work. Maybe they're a great place to start, but long-term, they don't work. They're limiting. We talk about not eating pizza. I'm not going to eat any pizza. I'm not going to eat any pizza. And then what do you end up doing? You demolish a ton of pizza, and then you have the cheesecake and the pops and everything to go with it. All right. So really, to form your relationship with money, a simple way is to have 2 different accounts. All right. A main account where all your non-emotional spends go out of. All right. Your incomes come in, and your investments, your mortgages, your fitness. Once you realize that you're going to get into fitness and you're paying a monthly fee, all these non-emotional spends go into your main account. And then you pay yourself an allowance that goes into your spending account. This is for your emotional spends, such as groceries. Now, I have clients that take in their grocery bill and put it into their main account because they buy their groceries online. It's almost the same thing. But have you ever gone to a grocery store when you're hungry, right? You end up buying a lot of stuff that you didn't want, all right? Another big expense that I see that's very emotional, I call it the double factor. So it's going to the Tim Hortons, the McDonald's, the Needs convenience stores, and just going in there and getting things. I've seen people spend more than car payments a month on this double factor, all right? And what this does, this is a very simple way to see where you stand and to find a lot of money that's fallen through the cracks. Another strategy is to follow the philosophy of the wealthy. Now, the philosophy of the middle class is to spend first and invest what is left over. So why do you think 90% don't have enough for retirement? It's because they have zero to invest. They spent it all. Where the philosophy of the wealthy is to invest first and spend what is left. Warren Buffett, I'm a huge fan of Warren Buffett. He recommends that you invest 30% and live off 70%. All right. So, once you make a certain income, over 50 grand, 70 grand, really depending on your family, this is where you can start investing. I understand, but really it doesn't matter. I've seen clients that are making 500,000 a year that are in debt to their eyeballs. With this simple rule, he breaks it down. You put 10% into retirement. This is in a low risk, boring, tax efficient growth. Treat it aside. If you're not paying, if you're not investing for your retirement, you're actually robbing from your future self. He says, then take another 10% and invest it in something that's going to make you better. All right. Self-improvement. Maybe it's fitness, seminars, courses, something that's going to take you to that next level. And then he says, take the other 10% of that 30% and give it away. Now, we live in Canada. I feel we give a ton away to taxes already. So, I look at investing that 10% maybe as an emergency or vacation fund. All right. And when we talk about investing, we look at a diversified portfolio. Now, if you go to the bank or to the majority of advisors out there, they're going to say, yeah, here's a balanced mutual fund. There you're diversified. That is not diversification or owning a bunch of different stocks. A truly diversified portfolio is you, your business, or your employment. Of course, there's real estate, and that's getting a lot of the media right now. It's exciting. Investing and saving, that's what gets most of the news. That's the very emotional, the up and down, the stock markets. And I highly recommend for my high net worth clients to use IceCap Asset Management. That reduces a lot of the emotion and grows and protects what you have. For business owners, there's living benefits, of course. And then there's permanent insurance that can help you make money. I'm a huge fan of whole life, and I show people how to become your own bank or your own banker. I'm one of the 4 creditor infinite bank concept practitioners here in Atlantic, Canada. But if I were to ask you, out of this diversified portfolio, where are you going to make the most money? Where are you going to create the most wealth? A lot of people will say it's going to be that become your own banker, Steve, because that's what you're so good at. Yes, you're going to make a lot of money from that, but the truth is it's you. You are your biggest asset. So finding your strengths and doubling down on them, focusing on your business and employment, that's going to give you the ability to invest in all these other strategies. All right. So now when you're starting to make money, the hard part is keeping it. All right. So making money is actually not the hard part. It's keeping it. That's what the most have difficulty doing out there. The wealthy use these strategies to retain and grow their wealth. And there are ways to recapture the interest that you would be giving away to the banks, the government, and others. But you can actually keep that so you can spend it on the things that you actually want. And, I could dive deep into this. That's a presentation for another time. But I'm a proud member of the Independent Banking Group of Canada, where we help people across the nation do this. And we set it up where it is right for the client, not right for the advisor. So you get the maximum benefit. All right. So to conclude, It all starts with mindset. You've heard Eileen talk about mindset and the power of the brain. You've heard Deborah talk about the power of the brain and making things easier for you. And the fact that we do a lot of things on an unconscious bias. And it's the same thing when it comes to your wealth. All right. So when you can get really clear on who you are and who you want to become, this just eliminates so much of the noise out there. It helps you make better educated decisions. Those decisions then better lead to better results that eventually lead to that confidence and giving you the ability to double down on your strengths. All right. And that's where the true net worth comes from. You've also learned that distractions and multitasking is our number one killer of productivity and becoming that person that we want to become. Listen, I get it. We love being busy. It's addictive. It feels good. But you now know being busy actually is the same as being lazy. A lot of that vital work, that important work is not getting done. It's being replaced by scrolling on your phone, emails, memos, all this stuff that's really not that important. And we're not doing the stuff that requires effort and concentration. You can't get it all done, folks. You can't get it all done. Let it go. But you can do anything once you stop trying to do everything. You know, see what happens to your stress levels when you stop trying to multitask. And you really got to know where you're going. All right. 90% of people have no idea. They're just following the crowd. All right. But where do you want to go? Do you want to be part of the 10%? And I don't mean to be elitist. The 10%, we don't think we're any better than anyone else, but we do have the ability to make our communities better. All right. To raise stronger families. Better yet, instead of aiming for the 10%, top 10%, why don't you aim for being top of the top 10% of the 10%? So I leave you with this. There's really two paths you can follow. All right. You can follow a trend. You can see the trend here. And this is where 90% of the people are going. And that's fine if you want to go to where that path is going. But maybe if you want to verge off and form your own path, I think you agree with me. It's going to take a little effort, a little energy at first, but it doesn't have to be hard. All right. You can have the experts like Deborah, Eileen, myself, other professionals out there bushwhacking the trail for you to get you to that goal faster and easier. So my challenge is to you is to choose the better of the two easies. And don't wait, right? When is the best time to get professional help? Well, it was probably a couple of years ago, but today, get started right away, right? And to conclude my conclusion, we often live in the past. Listen, we're all grown up now. What matters the most is how you see yourself today and what you want in the future. The major key to success is you. All right. You are your biggest asset. Now is the time to start acting like it. I think you've listened to this and you can see success isn't just one big step and then there's this big party. No, it's a series of small steps. Again, the challenge is to take that small step now. Reach out to Deborah, reach out to myself, reach out to Eileen, reach out to someone that can help you. If we can, we will. And if we can't, we'll lend you in the right direction. I hope this helps. And if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to any of us. And if it comes down to the financial stuff, the financial engineer, I'm here to help. You can reach me on my website, Steve MacLellan. The website is thefinancialengineer.ca or designanevenbetterfuture.com. Take care. Here's to our health, wealth, and living a very happy life full of great relationships and great emotions. Bye-bye.